Hi, everyone, and welcome to this Beyond Hybrid Work from Collaboration to Communities webinar, where we'll be exploring on how organizations are grappling with the new reality of work. Our new hybrid world makes collaboration tools more important than they've ever been before, and these tools really help define the entire employee experience. And they affect everything from culture, employee engagement, down to operating costs and even customer loyalty. What we'll use to drive the discussion is IDC's MarketScape's vendor assessment report on collaboration and community apps, which evaluates about a dozen major collaboration products. My name is Daniel Hansens, and I'm joined by the author of the study, Wayne Kurtzman, who is the Worldwide Research Director for Social Communities and Collaboration at IDC. Hi, Wayne. Before we get into the conversation with Wayne, I just want to do some housekeeping pieces. First of all, you should see a Q&A pod inside of your webinar screen. Feel free to use this, ask any questions during the session, and our team will get back to you as quick as possible. There's also a resources widget where you can download some extra resources, and that includes the IDC MarketScape report. And of course, I know that many of you will be wondering, and we always get the question whether there will be a recording of this webinar. Yes, we will, and we'll be sending you an email with the recording after today's session. So with that, let's get started. Wayne, hi.
Hello.
Great to have you here, Wayne.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, pleasure. So Wayne, IDC MarketScape carries a whole lot of weight in the technology market. Can you tell us a little bit about this new IDC MarketScape and the methodology that IDC uses in their vendor assessments for them?
Absolutely. IDC MarketScape is a worldwide assessment of vendors in a given market segment. So in this case, collaboration and community applications. And we do it through a balance of research, interviews with vendors, interviews with customers, what they value, and what IDC analysts believe will be important both now and as we go into the future.
Okay. So on that particular note, what does it take for a vendor to get into the leaders quadrant of this assessment? What are some of the, I guess, the notable qualities and the characteristics that these vendors have in common?
Well, let's start by defining collaboration. As IDC sees it, collaboration is the interpersonal actions that create value. It's something that people do, but the right technologies can help that scale significantly. So our criteria in the collaboration and communities market, the vendors have to be global. They have to be market leaders, sold at volume in at least 3 countries. Then they're rated on capabilities and strategies. And more specifically, that would be in the report as well. But of course, we look at functionality. What do they do well? And this ranges from product functionality, roadmap, the functionality itself, integrations, customer service, ease of purchasing, things that customers are really valuing. And it wasn't one area that determined the leaders. It was a matrix of success areas, and it often differentiated by vendor.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, the world of work has changed so much over the last 2 years. We, had this move to more flexible work from anywhere mindset. And of course, the critical importance of the digital HQ has sort of surfaced up. How does your report tie into this shift with regards to how people are working?
Well, business is becoming the conversational enterprise. We are moving at the same time from the end of the industrial era to the digital business era. And this IDC MarketScape reflects the importance that collaboration has in the new upcoming digital business era. Now, when the pandemic first started, that feels like a long time ago, people connected with each other first using conferencing technologies. This is how people felt connected to each other, seeing each other's face. But next was connecting to the work that had to be done. This opened up the door for team collaboration applications to be adopted, not only in a line of business or two, but across the enterprise. And the next stage is to create a sense of community in the workplace, sense of belonging, but to do it digitally. This opens the door for the digital HQ. Recent IDC research shows that globally, more people, even those without corporate email addresses, are now being connected, especially using team collaboration applications at work. As for budgets, we saw last year 36% of companies increasing their spend. But this year, we see 52% of global companies and 46% of European companies now planning to spend more on collaboration applications than they originally planned for 2022, and this will increase in 2023, which is formidable. This is really, Daniel, because the value of collaboration, the value of connecting every team member, that every team member can make a difference in the workforce, now needs to be part of that same collaboration application. This alone makes the case on how significant the digital HQ is in a time of increased uncertainty and these changing dynamics that we're all going through.
Yeah. So the research is telling us, obviously, that companies are investing in tools and collaboration software and will continue to do that. But is that really enough? What does your research, what does your latest research say about creating a real, true collaborative culture in a hybrid world?
You know, when it comes to conversational or even community applications, it relies on people engaging with each other. A mistake we see, you just can't provide technology and expect people to adopt it. And this was true before the pandemic. It's even more true now. Companies need to create a corporate culture of collaboration, and one that has certain attributes. One is being built around a shared purpose. Working for the same company is not a good enough reason. There needs to be a shared purpose and identity going forward. Also needed is a sense of trust and openness. Trust is maybe the core of all of this. Companies need to create a safe space for people to share their best ideas. If they don't feel comfortable sharing them, they will keep them to themselves, and we're increasingly find that they may not stay at the company as long. Mentoring and modeling at every level, done by peers and not managers, is also critical. Being corrected in community protocols is much less threatening when a peer person does it. And this should happen at absolutely every level of the company. This also helps drive adoption, especially if that peer is one who is really comfortable on the platform, and also that person could feedback what's needed in the community to IT. That takes some of the pressure off IT and increases the ownership at the individual level. Users, they should be cross-region, teams, and language. Just connecting the right people drives inclusivity, cohesion, faster time to completion, and often better group ideas. And finally, the behavior of sharing and collaboration needs to be modeled from the executive level down and from the bottom levels up. Everyone needs to use the same technology to maximize those benefits. And they really need to treat the collaboration environment as if it were an in real life community, not a traditional workplace. Traditional workplace is the industrial era. We're moving away from that. The traditional workspace is still a little bit knowledge is power centric, but we are getting to that place where employee communities are very significant, very powerful, and very valuable for the business. And that underscores the need for a culture of collaboration.
That's really interesting. I mean, there's a lot of things in there that don't just organically happen, right? So let's talk a little bit about intentional collaboration at work. I really like that in the report you define collaboration as spanning from communication all the way through to process. Why is it important, in your view, to define collaboration in this way? And what effect would this sort of collaboration tool have on an organization rather than, your sort of classic unified communications tool?
I love that you used intentional collaboration. I love that phrase because it really is. So let's go back to defining what collaboration is. It is people working together around a common purpose. The right technologies help that technology scale. If it's where the people are working, if it's easy for them to get at, if it is low friction. And value comes when you can measure it later on. But how much does it help? 85% of people we surveyed say collaboration applications make me feel more productive. 87% say it feels more connected. Both are up 6 points, percentage points since 2020. People need to feel connected at work. in different ways than they did 5-10 years ago. Now, this dropped a little in 2022. Remember how I said you can't just put a collaboration application and expect people to fully adopt it? Well, we had a lot of that, and there was no real onboarding. There was no culture of collaboration. And we found that the newer companies to collaboration were pulling that number down, but the more advanced companies in collaboration have done exceptionally well here. And applications like Slack were already in a part of the digital HQ, and it helps on the talent side. 86% say a good collaborative platform helps hire talent. 82% says it helps retain talent. And people are asking, what do you use for collaboration before they accept a job offer now? And that is different. People are now considering how they can collaborate, how they can become their best self, their most productive, in big part based on collaboration applications. Now, this number also dropped a little bit in 2022, again, with the less mature companies. But parts of the same research show a secret sauce. There is a secret sauce, and they are integrations, and they drove results. Over 82% of collaborative enterprises say that integrations are key to driving more productivity. Integration specifically in collaboration. Overall, companies see about a 20% productivity uplift, but companies that integrated 6 or more must-have applications saw a 32% increase in productivity. And that is significant. Running from communications to process is rarely done in human interaction. We just don't talk and make a process out of it. But when you use collaborative applications that are running with the conversations, it helps you measure well, it helps you execute well. And there is a really good case for bringing this all together, Daniel.
Yeah, certainly the numbers seem to bear that out. Now, some people argue that companies have to go back into the office. On the other side, there's others that are arguing that they're more productive working remotely if they have the right tools. At Slack, we're talking to our customers about building a robust, centralized collaboration hub, which really its intent is to reduce the organizational drag that can kill innovation and responsiveness. Because obviously, at the end of the day, a hybrid work environment isn't going away, right? Now, based on the trends, Wayne, that you're seeing in your data, how are vendors typically adopting to meet these demands?
Well, it's pretty clear the world has gone hybrid. It's really hard to go back. We're seeing this also starting to be adopted at a higher pace in Europe, even in Asia Pacific regions. The metaverse discussions, they're there. There's no going back. The metaverse is in the future, but we're not there. Businesses are moving actively from let's work as a unit of one to full out teamwork and collaboration. Now, digital transformation is core to collaboration, and collaboration core with digital transformation, especially with partners, vendors, and customers. And that is a new element a lot of businesses are trying to adopt to. People can use direct messaging and social media to connect. They'll use unauthorized apps all day long prior to the pandemic. A large number of applications were unauthorized just to be more effective. But right now, you can use something already made for the enterprise, already battle tested, if you will. IDC research shows 83% of businesses are seeing an uptick in companies that want to collaborate with them, but only about a third of them are ready to collaborate. If you cannot work with customers and partners and vendors the way they want to, they're going to find someone else who can. This is almost like not answering the telephone in the 1990s. You know, people want to be heard. They don't want to wait for emails. They don't want to wait for their way of communicating. Collaboration becomes more important to speeding up everyone. So how people get information today, totally changed. Notification from applications, boom. They come to you when there's news, social media updates, even messages from family or friends. It's what collaboration brings to the workplace. And then we're taking that the next step. It's moving toward a more community feel. So not just collaborating, but that future is still looking there on its way to the metaverse, which is still 7 to 10 years away, at least at business scale. At the onset of the pandemic, back at the beginning, for many companies, we were lucky. There were platforms that were ready. Slack became one of those go-to platforms. It was well known. It was often adopted at the line of business, sometimes in the free version. The need for speed often promoted Slack to the paid enterprise version, and it was effective. They already had their digital HQ. They just had to recognize it as the digital HQ. And we know without a doubt that technology will continue to help solve these challenges of how we get people things, collaboration to scale, but we as people have to solve them on not just the technology level, but internally in the enterprise at a cultural level as well.
Yeah, which can be quite a challenge. Now, the IDC assessment noted that really Slack is unique, and I would tend to agree with that, because we have a software that solves for external collaboration. And, of course, we do that with Slack Connect, which essentially allows organizations to work alongside their partners, their vendors, or even with their customers in the same place. And our customers are saying that that's a game changer. How important is improving that external collaboration from your research? And are there any other aspects of collaboration that you found impactful when determining your leaders?
Often stated in the research were the features of Slack Connect, the ability to effectively and securely collaborate between businesses. That was a very big factor to a lot of the Slack users and others that we had talked to in the research. Security, governance, compliance, privacy were big factors. That it's not just text anymore. That was great. But to see the product move along was also recognized by customers. Huddles, video, audio, very important. A way to have meetings with actually not having to sit down to have the meeting. And that is very powerful as a time saver. Collaboration with partners, vendors, and customers was a recurring theme. And it begs the larger picture. What will business look like in the future? Maybe less B2B and B2C and more people to people. There's a continuum that happens between the customer experience and the employee experience. And it happens a lot in collaborative technologies in the enterprise. So you can keep things simple. Keep them simple. Keep them closer to the lowest common denominator. But you can make it powerful so it can extend through integrations and to other applications that truly make a difference to both the employees and eventually the customers at the other end.
Nice. Yeah. Now, Wayne, I have to ask, what are you seeing as being the key drivers for, the ever-evolving workspace? In the US, everyone was very quick to adopt the collaboration solutions. Are you seeing any sort of EMEA-specific trends in that area?
We're seeing some of the EMEA trends mirroring some of the other trends, although EMEA has picked up the pace. There's a blending between workspace and workplace that's occurring and will continue. So when the need for digital transformation hit at the beginning, we had options like Slack. Now, our IDC research is showing the adoption of collaborative applications globally grew by 5 years worth of users in the first 6 months of 2020. Okay, actually March, April, May, June, the first 4 months, 4 of those months. And there was an advantage to the early adopters, people who already had it running. The IDC Future of Work research asked businesses globally what were the top 3 business drivers in their digital transformation initiatives. Here you see North America in blue, EMEA in green, APAC region in purple, and then the total in the pretty little bubbles. And what we are finding is that 48% of EMEA businesses said increase in personal productivity is the lead. Asia Pacific, a similar number, but North America, who had adopted a lot of this earlier, 41% say it is now employee experience. And this ties to the increased corporate spend in collaborative applications across the regions as well. So we are seeing these changes. We are seeing that employee experience and customer experience and employee productivity are very key. But we're seeing a number of other elements. One that always amazes me in this chart just a little bit is we're seeing increased compliance, increased stability, very often for security as parts in this. Because if you give the teams what they need, they're not going to run and start adding their own applications. And right now, it does tie with the spend, with the activity, with the adoption. And IDC research is showing companies are moving to reinvent themselves in a digital way that in many cases gives them new form of revenue as well. So Daniel, there's a lot that we're seeing both across Europe and across other parts of the world. And Europe is accelerating in this. They want, like pretty much every other business on the planet, to protect themselves from the unknown. And we have a pretty good feeling there's more unknown left to come, but we don't know what it is. So we want to make our business ready for it and the ability to lead into more digital abilities.
Right. Well, this has been fascinating. I mean, you can of course read the report, and I urge everyone on the webinar to download the report. You have the access to it and see the insights that are there. But it's great to hear it sort of firsthand from the author, and then get the additional sort of layers of insight on top of that. So thanks for your time on that, Wayne. Now we're at the end of our conversation, and we want to open it a little bit to some of the questions that we have. So let's have a look at some of those. All right, so there's one around the future of collaboration, asking if you can touch on that a little bit. What is it that comes after text-based collaboration, so the messaging piece?
Oh, good question. Text is great. It's the lowest common denominator. But when we're looking at part of the future, like Slack huddles, the ability to have that ad hoc meeting, we can use voice, video, screen recordings, and text to replace meetings. Then there's talk about the metaverse coming in, and that's going to happen in slow motion, though. So there's always this adoption of new features. And there's always this variation on how comfortable people feel in the way they're communicating. But if you want to see what's coming up, take a look at social media. What's being adopted? What has business applications? People are going to look at that and decide how to move it into business applications. And over time, you're going to see more collaboration with customers, more collaboration with partners, more collaboration with the enterprise you work with, and across different formats. It is a necessity. It will become a greater necessity. And when it's adopted and integrated, you see more abilities. I think one of the really interesting abilities is in the analytics that come from people interacting with each other, and with the integrations of other technologies. So we are getting closer to being able to see from a creative idea at one point all the way to a customer outcome. At the end of the day, it still comes down to enabling people to work together, to leverage the creativity, the problem-solving skills in new ways, to have outcomes as we keep moving forward. AI and ML will be part of that. They will help us actually with some of those new era analytics. It'll help us save time and money, and we can quantify things that we couldn't before. We're moving away from that industrial era metric of measuring the widgets per hour into measuring new numbers around the customers that we serve with our products and services. And quantifying this is something that we're looking forward to seeing more at both the individual and the enterprise level.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's really interesting. So another question. So, okay. Some businesses are dragging their feet around really adopting collaboration. What does lagging behind mean for their future?
I'll say it nicely. Those who are lagging in complete adoption and embracing of collaboration are very quietly selecting the industrial era ways of working, instead of adopting the more connected, collaborative ways of driving new business and new efficiencies, they're also going to make it harder on themselves to find quality employees that understand the power of teamwork in a highly integrated environment. Now, many people use collaboration applications, in some cases, free Slack channels, to collaborate with family or community groups they belong to or volunteer with. Maybe even groups of birds of a feather who do what they do in other companies. Why should these people find collaboration easier outside of work than they do inside of work? And my friends, if you do not see how people are using these, you really have to look at it, because collaborative activities are being used very widely outside of work and have a very, very important part inside of work. So it's time to start looking forward.
Absolutely. That's great. Thank you so much for those insightful answers, Wayne. There's many more questions. We have limited time. I hope that the team has been, I know that the team has been working on giving answers to some of the other questions that have come up as well. So, Wayne, thank you again for your time. I found it hugely insightful. Please continue to research. It's hugely fascinating, and clearly you're illustrating an area that has a huge impact on all aspects of business. Thank you.
Thank you.